Hello and welcome to the Deep Talk Podcast, a podcast and community dedicated to learning, growing, and connecting more deeply with ourselves and one another. I'm Madison Brandt, your host. Let's get started with this week's Deep Talk. Hey everyone, and welcome back to the Deep Talk Podcast. As always, so happy to have you all here. Today I have Eliza on, who is an intuitive guide and an artist, and you may have seen her in her videos on TikTok, which are amazing. She does readings on TikTok, but she also just shares a lot of incredible insight and knowledge and wisdom. She talks about different emotions and patterns and the human experience, and when I watch her videos, I'm like, you get it. You get it. So I wanted to have her on. Today we're talking about the emotion of jealousy and the complexity around it. I saw one of her videos about this and I was like, I was going to make a video of it myself. And I was like, you're the person to talk about this with. So jealousy, I think a lot of people think is purely a negative emotion or a mean emotion, but it's an emotion that we all have. And there can be a lot of shame around feeling jealous, right? Whether you're jealous about a friend getting married before you or getting a raise when you don't have that kind of money yet, or you're not there in your career. I think that jealousy is looked at like you just should be happy for people. And then there's shame that you're not. When in reality, I think you're feeling a lot of other feelings about it. You know, we talk about the feelings we might feel like grief or just pain. I think jealousy is a desire, it's longing. And so if you're someone who has experienced that in your life or you are feeling it right now in a certain area, like I hope this episode brings light to that emotion and like just a dialogue, but also lets you know that you're not a bad person for having it. We all have it in different ways. And so I think digging into it with Eliza, like just everything around jealousy and comparison and like that shame, like I just think this is an emotion that I think people think is ugly, and it's also very human. And so I want to bring some humanness around it. And I'm so happy she's here to talk about it. And I'm so excited for you guys to just jam with us and everything else we explore today and are a part of the day with us. So let's dive in and yay. Hey everyone, I'm here with Eliza Day. Welcome to the Deep Talk. I'm so glad that you're here and so grateful.
Hi, thank you for having me. I'm so excited to be here.
Yay, happy Wednesday. Well, what has your day been so far? You said you had a little therapy session. Have you had any good food, any walks, any moments to yourself or anything that's been nice this morning?
I stopped to grab a smoothie before I went to therapy, which was very fun. I don't normally do
Nice.
that. And on the way
Cute.
there, I saw actually a sparrow that was nesting like in the very like narrow 1-inch space between two stop signs. So that was a very
I love
fun
that.
sighting this morning.
I love that. I feel like it's so like LA to like walk with a smoothie. I know that sounds so basic, but I'm like, I need that. It like sounds so nice to like, I don't know, wear like a little athletic outfit and be like that girl for just a moment. Like, I don't know.
Totally. That was coincidentally I was also in my like one Lululemon like set this morning.
My
I was like, I really am. I am the LA girl today.
That girl. No, that sounds amazing. Do you have like a favorite like smoothie shop, or is it just like you're like, this is just random? This is just
there's one like right by my therapy place that I went to one time when I wanted juice afterwards.
Mm-hmm.
What did I want? I wanted straight orange juice. I wanted like fresh squeezed orange juice.
So good.
Which they did not have on the menu. And so that time I got like a ginger orange juice, and then I was so sad because it was just like a straight ginger shot, but like a giant one.
No, but I feel like I'm like, how good are these for me? Because I feel like every time I take one, I'm like, it's kind of miserable. But like, maybe that's why we feel like we need to do them. I mean, I don't do them, but like, it's a culture. There's a culture around it. Totally. So, oh goodness. Well, why don't we dive into you sharing a little bit more just about like who you are and what you're up to? And I know who you are is like kind of a big question. So in whatever way you want to answer that, I'm just like, yeah, what you enjoy, what you do day to day, like what's your mission? Yeah, whatever comes through.
Well, I always call myself an intuitive guide. It's so funny because it's like describing who I am or what I do. I'm like, I don't know. I always fumble through the language around this.
Yeah.
But oftentimes I default to intuitive guide. So I do sometimes intuitive readings for people, and I do various forms of coaching. But my mission ultimately is to support people in like liberation and autonomy. I came out of like evangelical Christianity when I was a kid.
Wow.
So my journey has been very much in my adulthood, like finding myself, forming my own value system, and learning to navigate more based on my like intrinsic motivations and sense of integrity than on those outside rules and structures. So that is what I do with other people as well. I work through a lot of deconditioning from high control systems and help people kind of find that sense of like internal navigation. So that's where like the intuitive guide part comes from. It's like I really ultimately am motivated towards helping people restore a sense of their own intuition and to trust that.
I love that. Yeah.
Totally.
Do you feel like, I always am so curious with people who are intuitive guides, like, have you felt like there's something different with you with that? Like, do you feel like you've always had like a different ability, or do you feel like you're just tapping into something that you feel like everyone has access to? Or does it feel
No, I
like,
think it's a thing that everyone has. I think the way that it kind of manifests in different people looks different. We each have our own way of knowing or our own kind of channel of resonance, but I think it's a thing that everyone has, and a lot of people have been taught to like turn it off or to override it or to dismiss it. So that's where a lot of my work is, just like unplugging the things that got in the way and being like, we can hear our own internal voice.
Is there anything else though about you and your path, or anything else that you think it's important to share? Like what you like to do today, like any little fun things? Do you like to do art? Do you like to drink matchas? Do you like to do, anything like that?
I love to bird watch actually, and I live, luckily my home is like a great bird watching spot. We have a bunch of
Nice.
crows, and
Yeah.
last week I had a very, very large hawk land on my balcony and hang out for like 20-30 minutes,
Oh my
which was
gosh.
awesome. My cat went crazy for it. And on that same day, crazily enough, we rescued a hummingbird on our roof, which was a really special and also high pressure experience. You have to feed them like every 30 minutes from like a little dropper with sugar water. So I spent like hours like feeding this hummingbird, and I like called all these rescues, and some lady was like, well, it'll probably die overnight. So like call me in the morning if it's still alive. And I was like, okay. But it was still alive in the morning. So I took it to a rescue that day. So that was a really
That's so nice of you. Oh my
beautiful,
gosh.
special experience.
Was it okay? Like,
I mean,
no.
it was okay while it was in my hands.
Yeah.
I don't know, like, if it could fly or not and, like, how much they'll be able to do for it. So now I no longer know. But I was able to keep it alive and to send it off to people more expert than me. So
Oh my gosh, that's a cool hobby. Do you have like those little like bird watching, like, I don't know what they are, like those little
binoculars?
Yeah.
I do indeed have binoculars.
So cute. Okay, maybe they're just regular binoculars. I'm like, are they bird watching binoculars?
There might be special bird watching ones, but I have regular binoculars.
Cute. I've seen people do that, and like I've seen people like just like, I don't know. There was like a guy outside my work like last year, and he was like doing it, and I was like, what are you doing out there? And it looks like they're just doing like random stuff. And then I realized like I like understood more about that activity and what he was doing. But like at first I was like, are you just like being weird outside?
Yeah.
Like, I don't know.
Creeping on everyone.
You just like look at them like, what are you even looking at? Like the trees, I don't know. But yeah, that's cool. And I feel like that is like a certain kind of creativity too as well, to like learn about it.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
I also try to identify some of the plants nearby. That's another thing I like to do when I take walks. If I see any that are really cool, highly recommend. And 2 app recommendations for anyone listening. The Merlin Bird app is from the Cornell Institute of Ornithology, but they have an app where you can just like press record, and it will tell you what bird song you're hearing.
Oh my gosh, it's like Shazam.
Totally, Shazam for birds. It's amazing.
I'll think of everything. That's crazy.
And then there's another one called Seek by iNaturalist, which that you can take photos of plants, and sometimes it'll work with animals too. And it doesn't always manage to tell you what you're looking at, but a lot of times it'll help you identify the plant species.
That's cool. Does it give you a little information so you can like read about it? Oh my gosh, cute. Okay, very cool. I'm sure that like in LA there's tons of unique things that they're not where I live. So that would be like actually more fun versus here. So
yeah, and
like,
it's felt important to like, because it's like I'm really familiar with the plants back home. I'm from Pennsylvania. So some I don't know, but it's like a lot of them, it's like I can just see them and I know exactly what it is, but it's so different here in LA. So a lot of the plants are totally foreign to me. So it's felt really important to like grounding here to start like learning the names of the things that I'm passing.
Yeah, you're connecting to your environment after a
Really.
move because you moved all the way from the East Coast, so it's like that's a big
Yeah,
change. Yeah, yeah.
definitely.
Well, like I mentioned before, we're talking about jealousy today. So I reached out to Eliza because I saw one of her videos about it, and I just like loved your way of talking about it, and especially like the connection between like jealousy and grief. And I've been thinking about the emotion for a long time, and just like how I don't think it's purely like a negative emotion, and I feel like it's yeah, I just wanted to dive into it with you, and I have like a lot of different like thoughts about it and the different facets of it. But I thought maybe we could start off by you sharing like a little bit about like your personal thoughts on it, or your personal overall experience, or how it's like impacted or been a part of your life, like that emotion. Um, yeah.
Yeah, I feel like when I was younger, I didn't think a lot about jealousy. Like I
Yeah.
just not that I didn't experience it, I just like wasn't really conscious of it as an emotion.
Yeah.
And later in my adulthood, I worked with a teacher at one point who she really talked about the connection between jealousy and judgment.
Mm.
That judgment is oftentimes a thing that we use to actually shield ourselves from jealousy. So it's like if I feel jealous of what you're doing or what you have access to, I might instead be like, well, it's bad or you don't deserve it for XYZ reason in order to like make myself feel more comfortable, right? I can
Mm.
get rid of jealousy if I'm just like, well, what you have is bad, or I'm better than you because I don't have that, right? You can like lean on that sense
Mm.
of judgment and superiority. So in hindsight, now that I'm saying that, I'm like in my younger years, I think I was a
Yeah.
lot more coming from that place of like superiority, especially with the evangelical upbringing. A lot of times I was like, I'm more pious and righteous than you, you know?
Yeah.
Um, and so that idea of like peeling back the layers of judgment and exploring, is there maybe something inside of what I'm judging that I
Mm.
actually feel envy towards? And underneath envy really is just desire. Is my judgment something that is hiding my own desire from me? So that's been a really big part of like my journey, is like uncovering where there was a lot of desire where previously I'd kind of shielded myself from it by being like, no, that's bad, or that's off limits, or that's for other people and not for someone like me.
Yeah. Okay. Something that I was thinking about when you're talking about that, like of you can flip into judgment, but I think you can also flip into shame. I think there's like the
Mm,
uh two roads you can go down. Like either I'm gonna make somebody else's situation feel like not interesting to me, like I'm judging it, that's lame, like I'm better than that, and that shields me from it, and I can do that to protect myself. Or I feel like if I'm not doing that, I'm like going down into shame. And I
yeah.
feel like that's maybe what I'm also protecting myself from. It's like I don't want to feel bad about myself or what I do have or that I'm not good enough. And so I feel like underneath it is also like desire, but I think there's also like a sometimes shame involved too.
Yeah. I think anytime we feel like a gap in experience, when it's like what you're doing or
Yeah.
what you have access to or whatever is like different than me, it's really
Mhm.
natural to like look at that gap and try and figure out why, and try
Mhm.
and justify a difference that's there, whether it be because like I'm less than, right, or I don't deserve as much as you do, or it's,
Yeah.
well, I'm better than because I don't have that. Like we
Yeah.
try and make sense of it, I think, in some way, rather than just being like, oh, there's difference here and it's neutral. There's no like
Mm.
moral weight really to the difference.
And then maybe like I feel like some people would look at it with shame, and then other people would look at it with just like the jealousy, or
Mhm.
everyone would experience it differently. So I think, and I think I would experience it with shame, because I feel like I've experienced shame in my life, and not everyone, I feel like everyone has a different level of that, some
Mm.
more than others. But I think it also points to if you have that, or like if what part of you gets triggered or pulled out from that experience. Like, yeah, it's just kind of like a mirror to that, not just the desire, but maybe
Yeah,
other wounding that you have or are
totally.
feeling.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you like with the world and career that you're in, and like building a social media and like online presence, do you feel like you've ever had like felt compare or envious of people building similar things to you, or like
Mhm.
judging yourself in that world of things?
Totally. I actually, that recently in the last like few months, there are like one or two content creators that I have like a jealous monster inside of myself for. words. And it's like, I've built enough consciousness around this that when it materialized, I was like, whoa, dude, like, why do you have these intense feelings?
Mm-hmm.
But I was like catching myself, you know, that attitude when you kind of like hate watch someone. I was like doing that, which is not, I don't typically do that. So it was like really out of character for me. And I was like, dude, what is the matter with you? And I sat with it for a little bit. And in both circumstances, it's women who, like, at least from my vantage point, don't appear to have a lot of shame on the topic of shame.
Wow. Yeah.
And in a lot of places where I maybe feel some shame or some insecurity or whatever, they seem to actually have like pride about those parts of themselves and like feel entitled to a lot of like self-celebration. And a lot of like joy and just like I can take up a bunch of space and I can be really loud about the fact that I love myself and that I'm proud of myself. And then I like look at it and I'm like, who do they think they are? You know what I mean?
You're not that good. You're not that cute. You're not that great. Yeah.
Totally. So that's been, the feelings are still there, but I like kind of continue to engage with the two of them as mirrors for it because I'm like, the more that I engage with this and the more that I kind of digest the difficult feelings that are there, the more I can start to turn this instead into like admiration and appreciation and a desire to emulate more of that. Rather than the initial like, what is this? Get it away from me kind of instinct.
Yeah. I think also like we want things to get away from us so they don't like poke those parts of ourselves because it like, I'm sure you've read The Untethered Soul, but I always think about that. Those like, there's a part in it that talks about like your thorns that like are around your little sensitive spot, wound, whatever. And like when you're watching a video about someone having something that you don't, it like pokes on that little part of yourself. So it makes sense that you're like trying to get away from it, whether it's just like not watching or whether it's watching and judging and like flipping it and being like, oh, there's something like, let me find what I don't like about them so that I don't have to feel like tender and I don't have to feel, or I don't have to deal with my own shame. Yeah.
Do you experience that also?
With on social media?
Yeah.
Yeah. Like it's been a journey. I remember when I was like, I feel like I am in a little bit of a space where I'm focusing on a lot of different things in my life. And so social media hasn't been my main priority. So I feel like because I've put less value in that, I've been less compare-y. And I think that's natural. Like when I'm really interested in something and I really care about something, it's like what I want to be doing the most. Like I am more heightened there because I'm putting more energy worth like time into it. But I think I'm a little bit chilling a little bit on social media right now. So it's okay. But I have had a lot of times, especially when I've been like really trying to grow things or really get things off the ground. I remember there was a girl for a while that like her social media, like one, she was so good at posting like constantly. And I was like, I don't know how you have that time. And two, just like the way that she was able to talk, it felt like I didn't have access to. Like I felt like she was able to just like open her mouth and like God would come out and like literally she would just like talk and talk and talk. And I was like just so judgy myself that I was like, I feel like I need to have a concept or idea. I can't just like turn on the camera and like get this many likes. Like I have to like really work hard and think for a concept. And was just like frustrated that like I had this thought of like, oh, it's like so much harder for me to like get to this versus this person. And I get into that mindset sometimes like, oh, it's like so much harder for me. And then like I victimize myself. And that's just feels ugly to me that I do that. But it's also like just like sometimes where I naturally go. And so, yeah, I just remember feeling like really comparing to her. Like this is so embarrassing to say, but I would like go and like look at like her videos and like be like happy when they didn't do well.
Totally.
And then there was a period of time where mine started doing well and like she was having a week with like less views and I was like, oh, I finally did it. Like it was kind of bad. And I was like this. And I remember like I was talking to a friend about it and she was like, that's unhealthy. And I was like, yeah, it was unhealthy. And yeah, I think that's a whole nother bucket of things that, like when I was starting, and I think when a lot of people do, really caring about the likes and like the response to it. I don't really care as much about that anymore. I think it comes more from a place of like, I want to grow this so I can help the world versus I need likes to validate what I'm doing. It's more just like I want reach so that I can build what I'm doing, not about ego too much anymore though. But it was for a really long time. More like just comparing, especially when you're new to it and you don't, there's just so many different feelings to go through. And that's what kind of this world and entrepreneurship puts you through a bit. So
Totally. Well, it's so hard not to judge yourself based on like numerical calculations, and that,
yeah.
Because when you create like on the internet or when you create in any digital form, like things are run through like statistical programming. So you do get these like very analytical like data measurements of you did good or you didn't. You can see how long somebody watched something before they abandoned it. I can't look too deep at stats. I don't know about other people,
I don't know
but
how.
it's just it's not my business. You know what I mean? And I will stop creating if I hyper focus on those things. But I teach right now a class on visibility, and so we work through a lot of this. And one of the things that we talked about a couple of weeks ago is that you can't numerically measure emotional impact. You can't really know actually what the depth of impact of anything that you create is, because all views, for example, right, they're all going to be measured on a one count. So your view and my view are both like single data points in viewership, but you might watch something and it completely transforms your life, and like genuinely you integrate whatever you take from it and your life changes from that point on. And that little numerical data point can't possibly reflect that. Like you cannot know the depth of impact of something based off of the statistics. So it's so hard not to do it because it's the thing that's visible and that's like available to you as a creator, but it is no measurement actually of what you are doing.
That's like such a cool way to put it. Like we have so many measurement systems in society, and there's so many other ones that we don't use as much, especially for people who maybe are less neurotypical or like don't maybe color outside the lines. It makes me think about school and like how I would always be jealous of like my sisters for doing really well on tests, but like I didn't learn as well that way. And I would heavily judge myself and think I was stupid all the time. When I had very other skills that weren't maybe measured in that same way, but maybe were greater than, or I had a skill that, they didn't. But it wasn't measured with those numbers to give myself that like validation. Yeah.
And it's so sad because it's like if we didn't have that measurement, like that jealousy might not be there in the same way,
Yeah.
Or if it's like if there's a different metric that like validated the things that you were doing and reflected that to you, then it wouldn't feel so bad that it's like they're excelling in a way that you're not. Do you know what I mean? I think everybody just like everyone just wants to know that they matter. And I think that's where a lot of that, I think that's where all jealousy ultimately really comes from, is it's like we all want to have access to things. We all want freedom, and we all want to know that we matter. And like when you don't easily find that for yourself, then you look at all of the people who seem to have it and you're like, well, what the heck?
Yeah. It can be hard not to get in the mindset of like, they have it easier. This is something I need, like I've been working on it so much these last years, but I definitely like being a creator and being in this world of things, like it's a different path. And I think that there are times when I get in the mindset of like, they have it easier because they don't feel this like incessant need to like create, or they don't like are creating in the way that like, I sometimes am jealous of people who I feel like have more linear paths because I would like that sometimes, but it's just not what I have been given. And so I have moments where I'm like, oh, like, wouldn't it be so nice, or wouldn't it's so easy or whatever. And those kinds of feelings can be, hard. And also feel like not necessarily good narratives to hold within yourself for your own mental health of they have it easier or I have it hard in whatever area.
So. I oftentimes feel that way too. Or for me, it's more that like everybody else has it together more than I do. And but it like the fact of the matter is that's never true. And like sometimes I'm able to like step outside of my experience for a second and like observe. I can't do it often, but I'll kind of like be like, what would I look like from the outside?
Yeah.
And for like a second, I'll look at that and be like, oh, I would probably think that about me if I was not me.
I think that about you.
Right. But it's like, you're not seeing the mess behind the curtain. Do you know what I mean?
It's also like such an interesting yet inaccurate comparison, because you're really comparing your daily internal messiness and all the things you can see that are so like complex to somebody's very high level introduction to you, oftentimes through social media and like through what you decide to put out, or even meeting you and being like, if I meet you for the first time, right, like I'm gathering surface level things, because that's what happens when you first meet somebody, you know, how they look or how they put themselves together, like the few things they share, like, you know, they went to this school, oh, they went have it together, but you don't know their family life or what they've been through, their grief, like what their day-to-day life is, mental health. Like we really are comparing like a surface level to a very complex, messy inner existence.
Totally. And social media, it's like anything that you encounter on there is always going to be like the most confident version of anyone that you're engaging with, right? It's something that they felt comfortable being like, publish, send that out to the
I
world.
look cute. I edited that as a little Facetune on that wrinkle for sure. Like I just got Botox, like whatever. Yeah.
It's like, I'm not showing anybody my like, I'm curled up in the closet having a crash out moment. You know what I mean? I'm never publishing that.
Never.
Later, also, I'll come tell you what I learned from it. You know, I'll tell you the insight that I gleaned, but I will not show you me mid-process falling apart. You know?
No, like I'll write Substacks on things about like emotions or things I've experienced, but like there's no selfies of me crying from it. There's no BTS. There's just like an insight, and then it's like you sound wise and like you've been through it. And it's like, no, I've also been like in the mess of it just as much as anyone else.
I think wisdom almost only comes from mess.
It only does. I have really been thinking about that lately, of like how even just, yeah, like whether it's feeling jealousy or like any quote unquote negative emotion, like I feel like suffering is like completely a map to your best self, your most loving and compassionate self for yourself and others, your most like internally wise and connected self, your like everything. Like suffering is like, oh my gosh, it's made me so much better of a person and so much more I think humble and happy, even though it's been so hard. So yeah,
that was the thing that drove me crazy. So the catalyst for the jealousy conversation was, if you don't mind me pivoting there,
please,
was a woman. I don't even remember her name, to be honest with you, but she like really vulnerably shared online an experience of like being jealous of a close friend. And the internet responded terribly to this. Like so many people were like, you're awful for feeling that way, and you're a terrible friend, and like all of these sorts of things. And so I just saw this like mass expression of like, jealousy is bad, and if you harbor jealousy, you're a bad person. Whereas to me, I'm like, jealousy and any of those like undesirable emotions, like that's where the juice of life lives. If you can touch jealousy and dig in and be like, what's in here for me? You're about to have like a major glow up as soon as you're able to digest that and take actual action on it and be like, okay, I'm envious of that person who's standing up on stage singing their song, right? If I can acknowledge that, I'm like 3 steps away from getting up there myself. And like, those are always the breakthrough points on your journey, is when you can acknowledge the like ugly, shadowy limitation. That's where you're about to set yourself free. So the fact that so many people were like, oh, deny that you feel that at all, and if you acknowledge that you feel it, you're bad. I'm like, well, then you're always just going to stay inside of the box of like goodness, and you're not going to expand past the limitations of your shadow.
Never, too, especially when shame keeps you there, and shame from other people. Then you're going to hide. You don't want to come out. Yeah. There's like emotions that I think people think are bad, and jealousy is one of them. I think shame can sometimes be one of them. I think loneliness feels like an ugly word to people. Totally. There's a lot of emotions that people don't talk about and keep to themselves, and then they also by hiding with them, they have shame of them, and then they actually can't be liberated or freed from them because they don't have other like compassionate witnesses around them. They're just like, you're hiding with your loneliness and your shame and your jealousy, like that, because they're like dirty words. It's like, oh well, how are we going to, that girl's post was her freeing herself a bit, maybe freeing somebody else. So
Yeah.
yeah.
I think things ferment too when we hide them, when we keep them in the dark. They turn toxic,
Yeah. I actually was going to share like a little recent jealousy story about my friend, because like just relating to you saying that girl shared it. It's just so interesting. I had a friend who has so like her social, she's like one of my close friends, but her social media is just amazing. And she's just like always doing something. Like her social media posts are like, she's at like a concert, and then she's at the smoothie bowl place, and then she's at yoga and Pilates, and she has so many friends.
Mm-hmm.
And I felt jealous. I was like, am I doing enough? Like my friend is so freaking cool and I'm just not doing as much. But I also felt this jealousy of like, her like experience of like having all these like insane amounts of friends. I had this moment of being like, oh, like, am I important to you? Like, and I felt like a moment of jealousy towards her
Whoa.
experience of all these friends. And I've never been like a very jealous friend or ever jealous of other friends.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was like, this is kind of a weird thing I'm feeling, because I've never been that girl. And I sat with it for a while because I was feeling jealousy, and I was like, that was just kind of the top of the emotion. And then I kind of dug underneath it, and I was like, I have a real desire in my close friendships to feel like I matter, like a lot, because my friendships are like partnerships to me, my closest friends. Like I give so much to them, and like they are like really matter to me. Like I'm try to be a very loyal friend, and like I love my people. And so I had this moment of like, do I matter? And I ended up having a conversation with her about it, like about like the root emotion, not like the surface one of like, you're hanging with all these people. Why don't you invite me to the concert? And she was like, that is so interesting that you feel that way, because like, one, you are like my best friend, like you are so close and dear to me. And like, and she's like, also like what you see on social media, even for me, who has a close friend, is like kind of fake. She's like, a lot of these are very surface friends to me. Like they're just people to go do stuff with. And she's like, it's so interesting that you have that moment of feeling like comparing, when I feel like on my social media, I'm like noticing your stuff, and you have a few posts with like a few close friends, and how much I'm craving more just a few deep close friends, because all of these people feel very like surface for me. And we had these just like total different depictions of each other and like what each other was experiencing. And yeah, there were just so many lessons of like, it's not always what you think. And that I think you can always have conversations about it, but also like not from like the you doing this wrong or like jealous chatter, but maybe about like the emotion underneath. I feel like people can actually connect with you when it's about like, do I matter to you?
Yeah.
Do you love me like as much as I love you? Like I care about you. People can connect with that. And so I wonder if that girl's video, like jealousy feels like it just hasn't dropped down enough into the body of like what maybe you're actually feeling or wanting to share. So maybe that's why people judge. That was a super long story, so thanks for bearing with me. But
No, thank you for
yeah,
sharing that. And I'm so glad that you guys were able to have that conversation. It takes a lot of like courage and vulnerability to be like, do you love me?
do you love it? It sounds so like vulnerable. And she was just like, we left that being like, we need to like remind each other more that we are really important to each other.
Well, it's interesting too, because it's like, I don't think intimacy makes a good, like, Instagram reel. In the same way that I'm like, you can't really know the depth of the impact of something. It's like the highlight reel, sometimes like the deepest and like most connected and most intimate relationships or moments in our life, like they don't make it onto a public sort of highlight reel, because they're like not aesthetic, or they're not easily capturable, or a lot of times it's because we're like so present when something's like really deep and really meaningful, we're so present in it that you like don't even think to stop and like capture that in some way.
Yeah, like
You
do you
know?
like I know for myself, but do you I feel like I have no pictures with my closest friends. Like
Yeah.
I don't have any. I don't know where they are. None.
It's like on a rare moment when someone else is like, "Oh, you guys should probably take a picture at this moment," you know? But it's like most of our time spent together, it's like my
Mhm.
hair is not washed, we're in pajamas, you know, we're up till 3 a.m. Like,
Yes. Yes, that's so funny. I mean, my two closest friends, like I think we have pictures from maybe like 2012. Like there's nothing. Yeah, I
yeah,
don't have any. Yeah, that's very, very true. And that's another like measurement. Like you can't necessarily measure like intimacy or like
yeah.
connection or those kinds of things, especially on social media. So,
Do you think it matters too? Like, because part of me is like stopping to like capture those things in some way feels like it corrupts the experience of being like totally present with it. But then I'm like, well, you know, in 50 years, when I'm going through like a box full of photos, am I going to be like, how come the most important people and most important moments aren't reflected here?
you know, I think that there's a way to intertwine it in a way that feels connected. Like for me, if I'm sitting at a dinner or having like a one-on-one chat, like those kind of things sometimes I feel are harder. Like I just want to be present. But maybe it's before, after the dinner. Or if you're going on like a hike, maybe it's like a quick like, oh, background and then the rest of time you're present. So you have those pictures in the boxes and you're not like, wait, we went on all these trips and we have nothing together, but it's also like not corrupting the time. So I don't know. I think it probably lives somewhere more in the gray than I would like. But
Yeah, this is actually making me be like, I should become a really significantly more avid photo journaler. Because it's also, I don't know if you feel this way, but it's like, I do think that whether or not I have a photo of something like affects where it lives in my memory. Like there are days or experiences that,
mm,
you know, they're just like more at the forefront of memory because
mhm,
both I experienced it and also I
yeah,
like can visually reference the images that I took
yes,
while I was there.
totally.
And yeah, I don't know. I'm like, I should have a record to the point of like the highlight reel of it all. It's like maybe part of the reason that we feel jealousy or envy when you experience someone else's is actually like a lack of the full picture
Mm,
of
mm,
ourselves. Do you know what I mean?
yeah. Oh
And
my
there are
gosh,
like
that's
so
so
many
good.
days and so many things that I do that like fall through the cracks of my awareness because I just like the smoothie today. Do you know what I mean? I would have just forgotten about that if you hadn't like asked me if I saw anything good today or if I like ate anything good. I like wouldn't
Mm,
even have thought to remember that I did that.
yeah.
But if I'd taken a photo of it, like I would remember. And it's like our life lives in all of those like little moments. And it's like to the point of your friend putting the highlight reel of like being out to dinner or like getting the smoothie bowl or whatever. It's like we do those things too, but we just aren't capturing them. Do you know what I mean?
I know exactly what you mean. I'm thinking about how I saw this girl's story the other day. She's a coach, and you probably see this when someone's like, "My day, 8 a.m. walk, dog, noon, 2 coaching sessions, 3 p.m. edit reels, like whatever 5." And I was like, "Holy shit, she does so much." And then I was thinking about my day, and I was like, "I do all that too.
Uh-huh.
I just don't write it down, capture it, recognize it, or like,
I
yeah,
think
I
to
don't
celebrate it.
or
And
celebrate
that's
it."
the thing with those two content creators I'm jealous of is they're always being like, "Isn't it great to be me?" And I'm over here being like, "I don't do enough. I I need to get to a different place and do more and look better while I'm doing it before I can be proud of it."
And like, you could have totally like taken a snapshot of your smoothie and like cute little bike shorts and like a little sunny like
Exactly.
beachy walk, and like that would have been someone else's Instagram, and we probably would have looked at it and been like, you went on a walk with a smoothie? I fucking wish that was me. And it was you. But like, I think
Mhm.
we're like channeling through like someone else's aestheticness. So like, we're just experiencing it as life. And like,
Yeah.
we're experiencing, like, and they are too, but we're
Yeah.
experiencing it as like an aesthetic thing. And
Mhm.
like, that's not how it actually is. Um, that's not like the lived experience of it.
Mhm.
So fascinating.
I
A
can't believe this
fascinating
made me
thought.
so much more pro Instagram right now.
I, I did not come on here to give you that disease. I am really sorry. I actually did not. Like, I don't want you
It's
feeling
so
like I'm, your like Instagram starts popping off. You have like your like smoothies, like your yoga Pilates shit. And I start being like cripplingly jealous of you.
Oh
I
god.
can't. I can't. But when I think about like those two girls you're experiencing or like the people that I've experienced and being jealous of, like I think the thing is I'm realizing every time I feel like upset with somebody else or like have an emotion at somebody else, I am really realizing like there has to be something I need inside. Like there has to be something that like I need to give myself that I'm not giving myself. You know, even if it's just like some compassion. Like I have a friend who was doing a ton of solo traveling and I was jealous and I was like, I need to solo travel. I wanted to. So I'm now solo traveling. And now like when they don't talk about it, when they do talk about it, I'm like not mad at them or like feeling a way about it because I am giving it to myself. And like every time I give something to myself, I'm so much less triggered about others. It's like, yeah, whether it's an emotion, whether it's something tangible, like, yeah.
Yeah, jealousy can so easily just be, I'll have what she's having, you know?
I'll have that smoothie. I'll have that smoothie. Yeah.
I
Yeah.
love that.
Yeah. Well, I think the last thing I wanted to touch on, I know we're like a little over time and everything, but you talked about jealousy and privilege, and that was a really unique perspective and that kind of ties into the whole jealousy and grief thing too, of like the idea that like I've always felt like it has to do with like how hard you work for things. And some people have things that you don't. And that is like a grief of like, I wasn't raised with that kind of money and I don't get what they have because of that, or I don't look like that, or my body's not like that, or like I didn't have that experience that easy because I'm not that person. And so I'm just like curious about your thoughts with like privilege intertwining with jealousy and like how to like feel better in that arena, because sometimes it just can be frustrating seeing somebody who like you think it's about working hard and for them it hasn't been a working hard situation at all.
Yeah, totally. You know, I think it's a hard thing to come to terms with in general because it's just like we're dealt different hands and like we do, and in some ways that it's like, some ways that aren't systemic inequity, right? Like I mentioned grief and like feeling jealousy, you know, towards peers who haven't lost a parent at my age when I just have, and like the distance of that. And it's like, that's not a systemic thing that happened. That is truly just life circumstance.
Yeah.
But then there are instances in which it is something that is more systemic, that it's someone's born into wealth or someone, you know, born with various more advantages and privileges than you might have been. And I think it is hard not to feel that jealousy because it's just like, well, how come some people just like come in with like a better hand, you know, where I might have to work a lot harder in order to get where they started, you know? But to me, it's like I always just zoom out from it. And I'm like, well, it's not about that person. It is about like the larger systemic inequity that exists. And
Oh wow, yeah.
I also think part of it is like coming to terms with the hand that you have, you know, in the same way. I'm using the metaphor of a hand that you're dealt, but it's like in the same way that you do when you play a game. It's like, do I resent you for the cards that you have? Or do I look at the cards that I have and say, okay, like what can I do in this game with this? And how far can I go? Or what unique advantage might I have because of this hand that the other person might not have, you know? And I guess that is a little bit of like a choice in belief to choose that. But to the point of what you were saying earlier of like defaulting to that space of like, oh, I have it harder. It's like so hard for me.
Yeah.
I guess my question is like, what if the hand that you're dealt has a unique advantage that when you're looking through that lens of it's harder or it's not as good as what they have, you're not able to see it? Do you know what I mean?
Because you're looking through your own lens.
Totally. And you're being like, well, that's the good hand to have, and I have a shit hand, instead of going, what might be possible here that actually wouldn't be possible from there? What am I able to create? Like, what's my edge? You know what I mean? What's the thing that's unique about my position in the world? What's the thing that's unique about being me? And that's the thing that like is abundantly valuable because nobody else in the world has it. You are the only person who was born at the exact time that you were born, at the exact location that you were born, with the exact circumstances you were born into, with the unique genetic makeup that you have, and with every life experience that you've had that's led you to here. So there is no other person who is exactly like you. And I think the thing that cures some of that jealousy is like recognizing that that uniqueness makes you valuable, and that the thing that you're seeing in other people, like, it's not better, right? It's just different. It's a different angle of experience, but no one else can occupy your angle, you know?
Yeah. I love that. I related that too, of like having ADHD growing up and being like, well, why can't I just learn like this? But
Yeah.
then like other people looking at me and be like, well, she learns in these interesting ways, or like she does things so fast in this way, or like, it's just a different
Mhm.
edge. So yeah,
Totally.
that's so cool. Is there any like last thoughts around like jealousy or like processing the emotions of jealousy um, that you want to share? Like any like other final thoughts you have around it, or like even how you are going about it these days, or yeah.
I think you can't rush the experience of being mad, especially if
Yeah.
it is in the like privilege zone. I think always with jealousy, but especially if it's something that lives within that zone of like
Mhm.
privilege, you get to be pissed about that. And like, if you want to resent the person who was born into money or whatever when you weren't, like, maybe don't take it out on them, but like, you can be pissed about that for a while because, yeah, it is unfair. And like, I think accepting your circumstances doesn't have to mean acknowledging that something's not unfair or imbalanced, you know? And I think that all of these emotions, like I said, the less desirable or the more difficult to hold, like, they have to be digested, which means sometimes you have to sit in some ugly shit for a while before you're like actually ready to move on from it. And it's like, if you need to sit with the jealous monster and you need to hate watch the videos for a little bit, or you need to sit in that space of
Mhm.
anger and being like, they don't deserve that and things are so hard for me, like, that's also fine. Don't stay there. Don't build a house there. Don't live your life from that space,
Mhm.
because you're not able to actually hold your full power when that's the angle that you're coming at it from. But you can sit there for a while and you don't have to rush your way to like the kumbaya land, if there's enough for everyone, like, you can have a minute to be upset.
Yeah.
But in the end, I do think it's important to come back to that place of like, there is no actual competition. And
Mhm.
that, to me, like, from a more of like a political and like deconstructionist lens, it's like, if we want to live in like a truly loving and egalitarian world, we also each individually have to deconstruct that like spirit of competition within ourselves. That's like,
Mhm.
because I think a lot of us, if we don't do that, we're just like, well, I'll get to the top of the mountain, you know what I mean, and then I'm not going to care about it anymore. Once I'm on top, then you'll see me then, everyone. Instead of just being like, there is no mountain and there is no such thing as being on top of it. There's just all of us out here, peers in the field.
Yeah, I love that so much. And yes, I think it's so important to feel it. And like we said earlier, how it can feel like an ugly emotion that like that, but like pushing it away or like having yourself or other people judge it doesn't make it not so. So it's like important to feel it and to be with it, to not shame yourself, and then eventually lead yourself out of it, but like not in a way where you're being shameful of yourself.
Totally.
So
I
yeah.
have come to a place where it's like, I really like my shadow now. I think she's funny.
Ah,
you know?
okay.
She's
Yeah.
mean. She's a little catty. She is jealous. She's petty. She's angry for sure. She could be really immature. But it's like, she's funny. She's a funny character to me. And so when she comes and she's doing her thing and her dramatics, I'm just like, all right, welcome in, do your thing, and when you're done, I'll clean up the mess.
Yeah, I love that. We need to give it like a name, like a little alter ego name.
Totally.
Something funny. Well, yeah, is there anything else you want to share, or like do you want to go into a little bit? Yeah.
Yeah, can I ask you
Yeah.
one question on the flip side of this?
Yeah.
Have you experienced or recognized someone
Mm.
experiencing jealousy toward you? And if so, like, what makes you realize that? How does it feel? And what do you do about it?
Oh my gosh. Yeah, that's such an interesting point because people experiencing our jealousy, I'm sure like yeah, it you feel it. I had a friend who I'm trying to think of how I can say this in a way where it's like them listening. Mm, I think that one area I'm strong in is the career world of things. Not that I have it all figured out, but I have always had a pretty strong conviction of like what I'm doing. Like my brain really works that way. Like I have a million entrepreneurial projects going and not all of them necessarily are working out, but like I always feel like I know what I want to be doing. Which is yeah, and doing a lot of those things I feel like I've had, even though it's been a different path, it's been my path. And I had a friend who lost her job and was really unable to like talk about it with me when I was talking about my excitements of the pursuits of things that I was doing, because she was feeling really lost in that area. And so we're very close. So she was actually able to like say that to me while I was talking about something. She actually let me know like, I love you and I care, but I just really can't talk about this right now. It's just really too hard. But before she actually verbalized it, I could definitely feel it. Like I felt the conversations, like a lack of excitement. I felt like things were getting cut short in our conversations, and I felt uncomfortable like sharing or being excited. And like it made me at first feel bad. I was kind of like, dang, you're not excited for me. Dang, like I feel like I'm not getting the support. And that feeling, you can kind of just feel it. It kind of feels icky. And then I think once I started to understand her perspective more and we talked about it, I had a lot more compassion. And it's because she didn't come at me with like a rudeness or a jealous, mean edge. She really came with me to like that underbelly of like the real feeling of, hey, I'm really struggling. And that was, so we're lucky to have people who are able to actually listen and be like, hey, like I will tone it back because I know that's hard for you. But not all situations do we get that partnership. Oftentimes we just have to let people feel how they feel. So I guess overall, like it can feel really ugly and not fun to feel. And that's why I know when I'm feeling jealous of somebody in my life that like it's important for me to kind of process on my own and not be too around them or too in situations where I may be talking about something that I can be in that emotion, because I know they'll feel it, and try to process it to a point where either it's fine or I can conversate with them about it and the real emotion underneath. Because I don't want them to be stuck with me in that feeling or like it. I mean, I want them to hear how I actually feel. And yeah, because it's not their fault, even if it is something that like I want and don't have, it's not their fault.
Sounds like you have some really incredible friendships.
Well, thanks. I don't know what it is in my sun sign, whatever. I don't know. I think that I am very blunt in my friendships, like emotionally blunt, not in a mean way, but like I'm always sharing how I think that's just how I've always been. And so I've really built friendships where like I do that, where I'm always like, this is how I feel. Because otherwise I feel like I can't be honest with how I live. And I get angry. Do you feel like you had an experience like I don't know if you had any relevant experiences or thoughts around just anything I shared. If you have
of people feeling jealous
of you, like if you've felt that or had a hard time with that, or
I think it took me a long time to start to identify it. And like I am very, very sensitive to like feeling judged or like feeling disapproval. And so I think I oftentimes felt it that way first. And I more recently have started to recognize that sometimes that like distance or the pullback that I feel in the same way that you're describing when you're like talking about something you're proud of or excited about, and then it's like they're not like meeting you in that space. I've started to identify that oftentimes more as like maybe a jealousy or an insecurity that's present, which helps me take it a little bit less personally. Like it still feels bad, I think, to not feel met or celebrated or seen in that way, but it doesn't feel as bad as being like, oh, they're like judging me and they hate me and I'm wrong. Do you know what I mean? Just being like, oh, okay, maybe they're a little uncomfortable with the things that I'm exploring or creating or expressing. For any number of reasons, either jealousy or otherwise, but just being like, okay, they have discomfort and they just can't meet me right now. And that's okay.
Yeah, totally. It's been really important for me to not like go in this shame spiral, because I feel like being in this world of things, you and I'm sure have similar-ish vibes around like feeling different or feeling like those wounds to be poked. So yeah. Well, I guess let's wrap it up. I don't know if there's any final words, but I feel like we got to a lot.
Yeah, this is great. Thank you for having me.
Yeah. How can people work with you who are listening and are like, oh, I need to work with you, connect with you, find you? Like, where
Totally.
are you in the world of all that?
Yeah. So you can work with me one on one, or I also teach group classes,
Mm-hmm.
which are really fun. So I have an upcoming one called Rebel Woman, which is all about embodying the forbidden feminine. It's a lot of shame processing. And unlearning like that concept of what it is to be like good or to be a good woman, and instead
Mm-hmm.
kind of occupying on purpose the things that we're told are bad, which is really fun and really exciting. So that one's coming up, but you can find all of that on my website at elizaday.love. Or you can find me on TikTok, Instagram, or I think I'm also on YouTube, though I really need to build that up a little bit more,
It's hard.
at Eliza Day. Sorry, at Eliza Day Light.
Ugh, amazing. I've seen so many of your videos and I feel like everyone needs to like go watch your content because each video I feel like is like a digestible, like you need time to like really process all the amazing like information you put out there. You were just like so wise. I feel like I'm talking to like an internal like 60-year-old woman on a rock. Like you're so wise. You're so connected and like you're also so like I feel like have a humbleness to you of recognizing that like even though you share online and you guide people, like you're also you don't have it all figured out, that you're like figuring out the human thing with everyone. So there just feels like a very nice humbleness to everything that you do that I really and kindness that I really appreciate. So
Thank you.
yeah, I
Thank you. I
appreciate you
really
being
appreciate
here.
that reflection.
Yeah, no, thank you so much for being here and just like also um having the mission that you do. I again like that emotional impact I'm sure that you bring to people. Even that video, like literally the video on jealousy, the one that made me be like, I need to reach out to her. I thought about so much. So
Wow.
um yeah, you're making a lot of impact past the numbers. And I know that people's lives are changed from even though you virtually. So yeah, thank you for
Thank
doing
you.
the work in the world too. And for being here and all the things. So
Thank you. And thank you so much for having me today.